29. All right. Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'd like to take this time to introduce our board members that are present. We have board member Tanya Taylor, Vice President Tanya Taylor. We have board member Mr. Woody Morris. Not in attendance, we have is board member Hannah, the president, Secretary Griffin, board member Buchanan, board member Dawson, and board member Williams Wolford. So thank you so much for being here. This town hall meeting is an opportunity for our community members, parents, teachers, staff, and students to come together in order to learn about the possible rebranding of the Lindop Parent-Teacher Organization to the Parent-Teacher Organization. Today's meeting agenda will be PTA vision, mission, as well as values, PTA facts, PTA benefits, Illinois PTA requirements, and then lastly, we'll go through questions. All right, so I'll give it over to Miss Jeanette Harris from PTA.
So my name is Jeanette Harris. I am the Illinois PTA Vice President of Field Operations. Illinois PTA divides the state up into 10 regions, and each region has a region director to support the PTAs in that area. And I support the region directors across the state. Now, unfortunately, your area has a vacancy in that region director position, which means that I am your support person. But we have an entire state board of people to support you. And so I have with me tonight Barb Quinn, who is our education issues director. She's worn many hats with the PTA, including state president and state treasurer. I also have Julie Holdeman with me, another veteran, and she is our membership director. So we have resources right here in Cook County for you. As Dr. Robertson told us, we have a quick agenda, so we'll have time for questions. And then our next step is at the bottom, and sometimes people are ready for that next step in the same meeting. We obviously can wait and I can let you have discussion and decide if you're ready for that rebranding. So that's kind of an optional item on our agenda this evening. Let's look at the mission of the PTA: to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. There are a lot of different ideas about what PTA is. We're the cookie bakers of the school. We are the field trip chaperones. We're the fundraising arm of the school because we're really good at fundraising. Those are, great ideas, but the mission of the PTA is to advocate for children. Until we give children the right to vote, they really don't have a lot of say in the matters of their education. And so that's what PTA is getting parents involved in advocating for children. And fortunately, it's for all children. It's not just the athletes. It's not just the little ones. It's not just these grade levels or kids from this side of town. It's all children. So we have some charter rules. When you become a PTA, you are chartered with the Illinois PTA, and each one agrees to these rules. Because my slide is so wide, I'm going to have to move your Zoom faces around a little bit here. But the first one: to carry on constructive work for better transformative family engagement, better homes, better schools, better communities. To refrain from all partisan and factional political activities. Sometimes people say, wait a second, isn't PTA political? Now, what we're talking about here is we're not going to get involved in the next presidential election. That's not our purview. What we are going to do is watch legislation in Springfield and Washington, D.C. that relates to education, that relates to children and youth. That's what PTA means by watching what's going on in our government, but we're not going to be involved in the next governor race or something. We're going to refuse consideration by the Association of Personal Grievances. If a parent has a problem with a staff member, the PTA isn't the place to take it. We're not going to be settling disputes between different people. To participate in the decision-making process, establishing school policy, recognizing that the legal responsibility to make decisions have been delegated by the people to boards of education. So when we go back to COVID years, some people said, "Hey, how come the PTA is letting the kids wear masks? You know, we should be fighting this mask business." And it's like, you know what? We want to bring the voice of parents to the discussion table, but we've elected and we've hired officials, administrators, boards of education to make those decisions for the school. And that's not the purview of the PTA to make those decisions. We certainly want to have a voice and to tell you what the parents, you know, what their thoughts are on a particular decision, but that ultimate decision is not the PTA's. We want to cooperate with the superintendent, the principals, the teachers, in promoting the best interest of the school community. PTA is the best bridge between schools and communities. We need that partnership. We need to be working together for the benefit of our kids, not saying I know better than you. You know, we're a partnership here. It's the PTA. And acceptance of these charter rules is necessary to be included in the PTA. We also have PTA purposes to promote the welfare of children and youth in home, school, places of worship, and throughout the community, to advocate for laws that further the education, health, welfare, and safety of children and youth, to raise the standards of home life, to advocate for fiscal responsibility regarding public tax dollars in public education funding. That's our newest one, and that one ended up in the middle of the list here. To promote the collaboration and engagement of families and educators in the education of children and youth, and to engage the public in united efforts to secure the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and social well-being of all children and youth. So when we're planning our PTA activities, events, things that we plan to raise money to do, everything should tie back to one of these purposes. If you're planning an event and you really can't tie it back to one of these PTA purposes, you need to take another thought at what you're doing that for. What's the motivation? What are you going to get out of it? If you're holding a school book fair, it's an easy one to match up with number 3 to raise the standards of home life. Perhaps you're hoping that families will get some new books in their home libraries and keep their kids reading. That's a very easy activity to say, hey, that's going to raise the standards of home life. But you need to be pulling your activities back to the purposes to really have a clear focus in your group. We have our PTA values of collaboration. We may be working with a wide array of organizations to broaden and enhance, sorry, I gotta move your faces again, our ability to serve and advocate for all children. Our commitment, we are dedicated to children's educational success, health, and well-being. Diversity, we're gonna acknowledge the potential of everyone without regard, including but not limited to, and it's a giant list here, I'm not going to read it, but you can imagine if there's any way to distinguish differences in people, we're not going to be taking that into account. We acknowledge the potential of everyone. And respect, and I think these are all probably values that, you know, we're working to instill in our own children. Some quickie facts about the PTA. The PTA, the Parent Teacher Association, is the largest volunteer association in the world devoted solely to the welfare of children and youth. The National PTA just celebrated 125 years 2 years ago. Are we on 127 now?
We will be in February.
Oh, February. We're
Yeah.
so close. And Illinois PTA, as a Congress of that National Association, we're almost there. I think we have one more year before we hit 125.
No, 2. We were
Sure.
formed in 1900.
I'm eager for birthdays. Yes. Well, we're close. We're 123 years old. So we're an association that's been around for a while. We have a purpose. And unfortunately, the reasons that those ladies started this association, it did start as the Congress of Mothers back around 1897, 1900, was because children didn't have a vote in how their education, how they were being educated. So the need for PTA is still out there. Our voices are heard in Springfield and Washington, D.C. We advocate for all children. We maintain good working relationships with all groups of public school personnel. And we keep that attention on the financial needs and the goals of public education. And I will say we've worked with different state and federal legislators on issues such as electronic nicotine delivery systems, which always makes me scratch my head till someone says vaping. Working on removing those flavors and the appeal for vaping for younger kids. We're working to remove that. Financial literacy, special education issues, safety projects. When I see that arm at the front of the school bus, PTA was a very strong proponent of that when there was, of course, a tragedy where the bus driver couldn't see the child in front of the bus, and now the arm forces everybody to step further in front so the driver can see people. So when I see that arm on the front of the school bus, I just think PTA. So there are benefits. Of course, we advocate for all children. Illinois PTA has that group exemption with the IRS. So all participating units have that 501c3 status, that not-for-profit tax exempt status. We have low-cost group liability and bonding insurance available to purchase. We have a platform called Givebacks. And in that platform, we track our membership. There's also a small website that you can set up quite easily. There's communication features in this platform. Probably the most exciting feature of this is that you can set up a store. If you have spiritware, if you have, if you're allowed to sell hot lunch once a month or something and take hot lunch orders, anything that you would want to be collecting payments for that you sell, you could set up in this Givebacks platform, and you could take electronic payments directly from your parents or whoever you're selling things to. One of the nice things about PTA is there is assistance when needed. I'm not sure who you call if it's another parent group. I'm not sure if they have a state office or if they have regional reps to assist you. I don't have any background with those groups, but with PTA, we have a state office. We have a real life person that answers the phone. We obviously have reps around the state. We have people like Julie that can answer membership questions. Barb is helping us decipher things from Springfield if there is legislation that we just can't wrap our heads around. You know, Barb could explain it to us. So there are real people with PTA to help you when you need it. There are resources and tools, because running a not-for-profit is like running a small business. So there are resources for you. We promote family and community engagement. We know that students do better when families are involved, and that's kind of the cornerstone of PTA. So that's a real priority of ours. We have leadership training courses free of charge. We participate in national and Illinois PTA programs. There are grant opportunities through national. We have access to members only sections on the national and state websites. We have networking opportunities, and this is neat. We're getting closer to being back in person with our state conventions, but it's neat to hear PTA leaders from around the state They either have the same successes or the same issues, or they have some very different stories that would either be helpful to implement in your area, or you would say, wow, I can't imagine how that would happen. So we've got frequent communications from our national and state association. I see there's a question, and I'm almost through this slide here. All of this for an annual cost of $5 per member. So when you join a local unit, you become a member of your PTA, the Illinois PTA, and also the national PTA. You become a voice on all three of those. And so for $5, that money gets split between the national PTA and the state PTA. So Lindop would not keep anything if your dues rate was $5. I'm not sure if you were charging dues or what your previous dues rate were. Anything above the $5 would be yours to keep. So if you have a dues rate of $6 or $7, you would keep that extra $1 or $2. I will say a lot of our units don't really use the membership as a fundraising activity. It's kind of a cost of doing business. And then they set their own, if it's a dine-in share, if they're making some money off spiritware sales or wherever their fundraising opportunities are, generally membership is not one of them. Is there a question up here?
It was a test in the chat, Jeanette, not a question.
Oh, great. We'll keep on rolling. Okay, so there are some requirements of being a PTA. You need to be what we call a unit in good standing. And if your current previous parent group was a not-for-profit, you'll recognize many of these items are IRS requirements. They're just not-for-profit things that we require, otherwise you jeopardize the entire state's license. So to be a PTA, you need to adhere to the purposes and basic policies of the PTA. You need to follow the mission of the PTA, otherwise you're not really a PTA. You need to adopt the budget, and the money of the PTA belongs to the association. It's not the purview of just a bunch of officers to decide what to do. You're a membership association, and so everyone is voting on what you're doing with the funds that you have. So you need to adopt an annual budget that your membership votes on. You need to pay your membership dues each year. You need to have bylaws reviewed and approved every 2 years. You need to purchase liability insurance. Now, there are a few rare schools around the state that actually cover their parent group on their own liability insurance. You would have to double check this. It's very uncommon in this part of the state for a school to cover, but that would be the only loophole to purchasing your own liability insurance. So you'd have to verify that with your school. You need to complete and file your IRS requirements. Now you're tax exempt, but you still need to file an informational return every year. And you need to complete an annual audit. Does anyone have any specific questions about the Illinois PTA requirements? I think the next slide is just general
Okay.
questions.
I'm going to go to the question that's in the chat. The question is, are there national dues, national fees on top of the $5 per member? No, the $5 covers the state and national portion of dues. Currently, the state rate is $2.75 per person, and the national rate is $2.25 per person. So there are no additional fees. And I think it's important to remember that any activity that you undertake that raises money for your PTA, the Illinois PTA nor the national PTA takes any portion of that money.
Thank you, Barb.
just a logistical thing really quick in regards to paying your dues. You would pay the $5 total dues through Illinois PTA, who would then remit the $2.25 to National PTA. So you would just be making one straight payment for your dues straight to Illinois PTA, and then they would remit that $2.25 out of the $5 directly to National on your behalf.
All right. That is our presentation on PTA. There must be some questions out there.
We do, Ms. Harris. We have some questions, and I'll be passing the microphone around for anyone who needs to ask a question.
Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. Princess Dempsey here. My question is a couple of things. On your website, when I researched the PTA, it said $21 a month per member and $500 lifetime. However, you're also talking about insurance. I don't think that the board has budget to have that insurance in place. I don't know. I can, ask the board. I just asked the board. But when PTSO, it's not a membership fee. So why will we be paying? I mean, even though if you want to do PTA, it could be implemented in next year, but I don't think that you guys researched it with the funding and also the liability with the insurance, because this is a lot according to what PTSO has, which is non-fees, and parents are not paying. So you're telling parents they have to pay to be an organization. Then the organization is overseeing what our parents are doing and everything that the children wants to do. And that's not how PTSO is designed. So I'm just trying to get clarification of why we move into PTA and not waiting or bringing the presentation or trying to move it for next year, because we are already in the season of the school year. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I'm just trying to make sure that the board has budget and we're not overspending something that the board doesn't have, or it was not approved for that. That's my
All
question.
right, I think you have a couple of questions there. The first thing you started out with were those dollar figures on memberships. And those were to join the Illinois PTA, not a local unit. I think what you saw was the Barb, what are those special members? They only join the state association. They don't.
Those are
join
called
local units.
supporting members. They're
Supporting
more
members.
like sponsors.
Is that what you're referring to in the first part of your question? The supporting members?
Well, it said to become a member. It didn't say supporting member at all. And when I was researching it, because I want to make sure that I have facts factor, it said to be a member, it was $21.99 per month, but be a lifetime member is $500 for lifetime. That's what it said on your website. It didn't say supportive. It just said membership.
No, I'm not
Is
sure
that
what.
PTO today, perhaps, versus the Parent Teacher Association?
It was PTA.
No, well, that's nowhere on the Illinois PTA
No.
website that I've ever found.
I'm not sure what that was, but that's not any PTA memberships. The second part, you're talking about the liability insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know whether the current group is covered under the school liability under their own insurance, or whether they purchased their own insurance?
They never had to purchase their insurance under PTSO.
Well, then I would like to direct this question back to you. If you host an event and there's a liability issue, who's responsible?
It's a school event. They're not doing any outside events. So my question to you is, if they're doing liability, is you saying that the PTA is covering them?
In our school districts, our any organization, whether it's the park district, the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the PTA, whatever parent group, whoever wants to use school property, like to hold an outdoor dance on the playground or to hold a basketball game inside, they need to have their own liability insurance. I don't know for your specifics if your school district would automatically cover.
Right, because it's been a partnership with PTSO and the school district. We have partnered with them basically. So if they did an event, which is they partnered with us, such as a back to school event, such as Daddy Daughter Dance or something like that, that's a partnership.
it's not a, PTSO.
PTSO is
Event.
involved in that.
I guess the question would be, who's taking overall responsibility and liability of that event? If it's in partnership, there should be some type, and basically the reason why we want local units to be covered by insurance is, should someone fall in the parking lot, inside or outside of the event? Should there be, some other issue? Should there be a problem with a financial situation within your books? Whatever those things are, these are just things that are put in place to help safeguard your association from anything that might come up. It's an insurance policy. I mean, it could be anything from what's on social media. It could be, anything like that, but those are things that are protecting your officers and people who are working on behalf of your PTA, PTSO, or as well as those attending your events, as well. So, that's just a question maybe perhaps to ask within your school and your district, your area, as to really who's responsible and liable for those things, for everyone's protection, for the school district's protection, for your PTA or PTSO. That's what those things are basically in place for.
So you're stating that even as a parent, every parent should be paying a membership due?
Everyone who wants to be a member of the PTA needs to pay a membership due.
And
That
that
doesn't-
membership dues goes to who, you or to the school district? Because right now we don't pay membership due at PTSO.
Can we share just a little bit about some things that PTA has to offer? PTA has many programs that have been curated through national PTA, such as internet safety, such as anti-bullying programs, such as literacy, such as STEM programming. What other things am I forgetting? Lots of programs that are already curated with materials that can be available in English and Spanish, with promotional materials, ready-made programs that are there and available for our PTAs to be able to take and bring in and utilize within their local units and schools. We also, as Jeanette said, have National PTA provides over $1 million in grants for different types of programming that local units can apply for to help bring those programs into focus and to life within their schools, as well as, like Jeanette was saying as well, that we provide people to help you, to help make sure that if you have any questions in regards to your tax filing, in regards to your budgets and audits and all of those things, we are not here to be a police over what you're doing. You know what programs are best and needed by your local community. We're just here to help provide additional resources and additional programming opportunities, as well as resources for parents that they can access on a whole host of things, on, learning standards, and on, just even different health and wellness resources and different things like that. So there is a lot of benefits to membership, as well as, financial benefits to people that are members of your PTA, whether they get 20% off from Hertz rental car from being a PTA member, or your local unit being able to, get a free business membership to Walmart Business to help provide discounts and benefits. Whatever those things are, there's a lot of things and value to PTA. I understand you seeing the $5 cost, but there are many benefits to PTAs to be able to take advantage of so many things that PTA has to offer.
Is there a trial cost? Like, is there something we can, like a trial, like a 30-day, 90-day trial with no cost, so we can see if it will work for our community and our school district?
There's quite a bit of cost to get your not-for-profit status. So it's really not something we can try before we buy situation.
I mean, we encourage you to look into at National PTA website at pta.org, and see all the different programming and different resources that are available to PTAs and PTA leadership. That's, you
Is
know,
this just a new concept with dues that you haven't had membership
Right.
dues in the past?
Ms. Dempsey, this is Andy Arndt, business manager. I'm going to check with our insurance provider to see whether or not any parent-teacher organizations are covered. So I'll check that tomorrow. I'll report back through the superintendent so that we have that answer. But I can tell you from personal experience with my children's school, we do use PTA, and the insurance is the first thing that they get a hold of, because when they're fundraising and they're raising money, that money goes into a bank account. It doesn't immediately come back to the school for events. And if something were to happen, that account could be held liable for any damages. So it really is a protection against the money that you're raising, so you don't lose that. And that money ultimately will end up providing things for the students and for the school.
You said your children's school, where do your children go to school at?
They go to school in Naperville.
Naperville. So Naperville is different. That's DuPage County, correct?
We're in
This is
Will County.
Will County, okay, and this is Cook County, so we have different laws in various states. My question is, again, if the board, and I've been board president for 8 years when I was on Lindop, okay, we have to have a budget. I understand you're the business manager, but if it was not voted on and we don't have the budget, and then she's saying all these programs, if we can't trial, like she said, we have to establish a nonprofit. That costs too. That's not free. So we have to establish that in our community. So who's paying the cost? And now, if the school district say, I'm going to hold all the costs, then they need to do that. But to implement a PTA in the middle of what was already existing without all the research is not smart to me. And I'm saying that because I was the board president for 8 years here at Lindop. Okay, so we have to be mindful. We have taxpayers. We have to be mindful. We have students. We have programs coming up. Currently, right now, we're not paying any money for that. And that's what I'm saying. So when she get her costs together, her cost factor, how to establish a 501c3, when we have to use a separate EIN number. And trust me, I'm a businesswoman. I have Dempsey staff. I own a staffing company for 20 years. So we have to establish all of that and see where the money's coming from. Can the board afford that budget? And if not, then we need to move to next year and implement that.
Well,
That's what I'm
good
saying.
news. Those costs are not going to be passed on to you as a new PTA.
that's part of a benefit of being affiliated with the Illinois PTA. You're under the Illinois PTA umbrella. The only thing you would have to cover would be your insurance. And if you do dues. And just to be honest with you, local units are only required to have a minimum of 25 paid members. Though of course, we want to encourage as many members at local units as possible. But you know, that there are different things that are in play that, you know, take care when you're in a PTA, and things that you don't have to necessarily have every single person be a member, but everyone can participate in your PTA programming. That doesn't limit who can participate or be a part of your programming. You don't have to use any of the programming that the PTA provides, but it is there available as a benefit.
Hello, everyone. My name is Diana Dranko, and I'm a retired PTSO officer. I actually would like to bring our discussion back to what rebranding would entitle. We have established the PTSO as a nonprofit organization. We went through the state Secretary of State requirements and the IRS filings. We have our own EIN. We have our own bank account right now. When it comes to the insurance issues, since we've been starting, previously PTSO was a committee of Lindop. So I think Lindop covered all of the liability insurance issues. As we've been building our organization, we've been trying to save up enough money to be able to afford the liability insurance. And I know the liability insurance would be covered by our fundraisers, and it wouldn't be an expense on put on the Board of Education and Lindop School District. Just to clarify that. But I would like to know since we already have an established organization, if we were to transition to PTA, what we would have to do? Do we have to dissolve it or can we transition?
At some point, you'll need to dissolve the organization, and your bylaws should give steps on how to do that. I think a big difference that you're going to notice or you're going to feel is that the PTA is a separate organization from the school. And so we talked about how, the PTA is not the fundraising arm of the school. The funds are completely separate because a PTA is a private not-for-profit and the school is a public not-for-profit. So you can't commingle those funds. But I think that's part of why if you started as a committee within Lindop, that probably why, especially the liability insurance was covered, because you really were part of the same organization. A PTA is a separate organization, and you're going to be partnering and keeping that relationship with the school. But these events are going to be your events, however you label them. And so that's why you need insurance, unless that gentleman finds that your school district would be covering it. But you're separate organizations now, which sounds like what you're working towards, or maybe you're there.
Yeah, my name is Jonathan Patterson. I have a question as well. So since we have an established PTSO, a newly elected board and everything, one of my questions is, so is there a transfer of officers that go over to PTSO? From PTSO to PTA, or does there have to be an entire election held and we just disregard our PTSO that was newly elected? Do we just disregard that they won an election that was voted on by the parents, and now that we want to all of a sudden rebrand, and we've never done this before, all of a sudden we want to rebrand, this year, so is it null and void for those elected officers of PTSO? How does that work? That's my
Well,
first
here's the good and the bad news. Probably the bad news is this is a completely different association. There's a potential that there are different members in a PTA than who was in the PTSO. So you'll need a whole new election. But the good news is, if those officers are supportive of the mission of the PTA, there's no reason that they can't be nominated and elected to the new organization.
Right, but my problem with that is this. It's like, okay, I didn't want the president to win. And then all of a sudden, when he wins, well, let's say, oh, let's try something else. We're going to change it to something else. So now that doesn't matter that president won. I'm just using that as an example. I don't think we should bypass an election that was already done, already with what we have existing, and then we just bypass that to rearrange and transition over to PTA. Then we have to have another election. There was a platform that we posted on our class dojo. Over 200 people saw this. They had a chance when we had our PTSO to come and voice their concerns, and this should have been brought up at that time. I don't think it should be changed, in the middle of the school year, because there was a platform for the parents and whoever else, to come in and place their vote and establish that at that time. So I just don't think we should do away what was already done, because this whole meeting today is confusing to the members of PTSO, because now we've been blasted and robocalled 1,000 times today and all this week about PTA, when we've had people come out to vote for PTSO. So now the parents don't know, are we going to be PTA? Are we going to be PTSO? We got a surety from our board that they were supporting the PTSO. Now this change comes abruptly. And I just think that it's caused a spaghetti mess. And I feel like we need to keep going with our PTSO at this point, because there's a lot of moving parts with changing over to PTA. And I think that that's a parental decision, not a school decision, a superintendent decision. And the board has already established that they have no dog in the fight on whether if we're PTA or PTSO. They never had in the past. And now all of a sudden, this is being initiated. And I also would like to know who initiated this town hall meeting for you all to present this to the parents, because since we have a PTSO, I would think that the parents would use that. It would be protocol for them to use the PTSO platform, and we would have voted and talked about this, and the parents would have called you all to come and present this, not the school. The school doesn't have the jurisdiction to bring you all here to, talk to the parents when we already have a platform for that. So can you speak to that? I ain't done.
We were invited by the school to come and describe PTA and see if this is something you would want.
Right, exactly. But don't you think that that should have been the parents' decision and not the school to invite you all if we already have an established PTSO? I think that's a parental decision, not a school district decision. Even the board agrees that it's not their decision. So it definitely shouldn't be the school's decision to rebrand anything. I can't walk in Walmart and I'm an employee and I say, I want to rebrand Walmart. You can't do that. That's what I'm getting at. I don't understand the nature of this. This seems like a level of bureaucracy that's added to downplay our PTSO. And, we don't want to just disrupt our established PTSO to, change the horse in the middle of the race. I just don't see how this would be conducive for what we have going on right now. We already hard to get members to even participate. And then now we change the brand in the middle. You guys know, if you served on PTA, it's hard to get parents to come in. And then not to mention even paying $1, we pay enough taxes. I won't even want to pay $1. My time is the most valuable thing I have. And if I'm going to value and bring my time here to serve, I'm not paying a dime. I just don't see how, this is a better option. We didn't ask for options. We were okay with PTSO. No parent signed the petition or came. I've been at the last couple of board meetings. Nobody came before the board and asked for PTA to speak to us. This was solely based off the school wanting this, and I don't think they have the jurisdiction to initiate this. Am I incorrect?
I can't speak for your school district. I can say that mine can most definitely tell a PTA that they're not, going to operate in our school. I can't speak for your school, but
Okay.
you know.
I have a question in the chat, and then I have another question that's out in the audience. Can you read the question that's in the chat?
If I open it up, are there other schools in Cook County that have a PTA that we can speak with? Oh my goodness, there are a ton. A lot of our PTAs are in the very northwest corner of Cook County. We have a number of them in Chicago. Well, we have them in the North Shore. We have them on South
Suburban Cook.
We have a lot of PTAs in Cook County.
Okay, thank you. Then I have a parent out here.
Hi, Tamika Henderson here. I have a question. If PTA is adopted by this community and votes are, we elect a board or members or whomever, who supersedes those members? Is it the school or is it the organization?
What do you mean by who supersedes?
So if we were to vote for president, vice president, et cetera, and something happens where someone doesn't agree with that election, who, if anyone, is anyone over the school or the school board able to say something different that, that's not in the best interest, or we're going to go somewhere else, or who supersedes the election?
If it's a PTA, you would probably be going to your region director or the state board and say, I'm not sure that this election was properly held, or,
Mhm.
you know, I'm not sure that this person was eligible to serve, or whatever the description was, and a PTA team would be organized to investigate what happened with your election.
Can I just speak really quick that in an election, only PTA members are able to vote in a PTA election or on PTA business. So on your budget, your audit, your any adoption of bylaws, as well as in order to be able to serve on your PTA, they must be a PTA member. That is a stipulation. Basically, when you're becoming a member and you're agreeing to serve and follow the charter rules and our purpose and all of those things that Jeanette spoke of at the beginning, you've shown that support through membership, and then that's how that process goes. But if there's any question about, as Jeanette said, with the election or any of that, there are people above that can help your PTA. And that's one of the biggest benefits of PTA is we have people at your region level and then at the state level that can help out, and help through the transition way or throughout any of it. But that is how an election would run, would be your PTA membership, whether that's your staff and your administration, as well as your parents. If you have any community members as members, they would be the people that would be voting and making those decisions.
All right, I have a question from a teacher.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Brown here at Lindop School. I am new to the conversation about PTSO and as well as PTA, but I'm very interested. I know the parties that are involved, right? The parents, the teachers, but our forefront are these children at the end of the day. And I heard a former president speak about the PTSO partnership that they did with the daddy-daughter dance and back to school event. So me just hearing about PTA and the requirements and who will be involved, my question is, what does it look like for the children? I understand the background information that we're talking about with insurance and money and paying, but as a teacher, I like to do things where I want my parents to come in and listen to me read. I like to do things like that. I host book parties for my children, and I want to be involved, but I also want to know what I'm getting involved in. So my question to you guys is, what does PTA look like with events and partnership? Because I'm an all-in type of person, but I would like to hear what are some partnerships that you guys do.
Go ahead, Barb.
Well, as a former educator and still a current officer in an early childhood PTA, I can tell you that the partnership is as strong as you choose to make it. We are currently involved. We operate 3 to 5 activities a year that specifically are designed to invite families and students into the school, into the building, to participate in activities at no cost to the families. So the kinds of fundraising that we do supports all of our activities. We have a fall festival, we have a spring celebration, we have a family reading night. We are looking at a family math night, we have a family game night. So the activities are as broad or narrow as you choose to make them. And that partnership can increase and improve family and community engagement simply by those invitations from staff members. Would you like to volunteer? Would you like to come and read? Would you like to come and man a center for an hour? There's all kinds of activities that are out there. And I think both Jeanette and Julie pointed out that one of the huge benefits of PTA is you have resources available from all across the nation. It's not just the 3 of us who are here on this call tonight. You have an entire board in Illinois, you have an entire national board, and then you have 53 other state and or international congresses that you can partner with to gain additional information. Does that answer your question?
I have a question. Even though it is Illinois, a part of the people, what kind of support do you get to local organizations besides, do they give money toward politics or do this money?
Okay, as a 501c3, we are prohibited from giving any money to political campaigns in any way.
Okay, that's right. How many members do we really need to start this? 25, I was a little late coming.
No, 25 is what you have to have if you're an existing PTA with a school enrollment of more than 100 students.
Okay.
Usually charter memberships can run from 10 to 300. It just depends on what your demographic is looking at. I can tell you we've chartered PTAs that had 300 members at a charter meeting because they really were more interested in advocacy perhaps than fundraising. So, I mean, it looks different in every community.
Okay, now we, like the gentleman said up front, we already have a PTSO in place. What's the problem transferring over, like he was saying, since we already have something in place? You know, we have an organization already exists. So why start from scratch?
Well, I'll let somebody else attempt that one.
I see another parent had her hand up, but as I'm transitioning to her, one of the things that I noticed on the website was about how PTA have grants and things available. Can you speak upon that so that the audience can hear that? Grants for like STEM programs and things like that. Can you speak on that for us, please?
Let me just, can you give me 1 second to pull up the National PTA website so I can speak a little more?
If today is Wednesday, I can tell you that the results just came out for the fall application period. So we just had an application period to National PTA for some of them were STEM and family nights, some are technology, healthy lifestyles. There were different categories that you could, what was the grant amount? Couple hundred, no.
There were all different amounts based on what you applied for. I'm trying to get into the
grants so that you could hold, say, a healthy lifestyles event. So maybe you would invite a nutritionist to come and show you easy things to sneak into your kids' lunches that would be nutritious and they'd actually eat it. Or perhaps a local athlete who might energize the kids and show them fun ways to really amp up their exercise out, you know, on the playground or outside of school or something, or a technology grant where you could teach the parents how to use the technology. Sometimes the kids pick it up and we don't know what they're doing. Can you think of any of the other categories, Barb?
Well, I know there's there's that digital safety see, I'm trying, because they closed the applications, you can't really get into that section of the website right now. But one of the things that I would encourage you to do is go to pta.org and look at some of the information and resources that are available through the National PTA, as well as the resources that are available from the Illinois PTA. One of the things that we didn't mention, a program that has been around for more than 50 years, is the National PTA Fine Arts program known as Reflections. Every student in every PTA school has the opportunity to participate in a fine arts program, and they can be recognized locally, they can be recognized at the district level, they can be recognized at the state level, and they can be recognized at the national level. And so as we look at different ways to make school a family commitment rather than just a student commitment, we look at these kinds of programs. The National PTA program, Schools of Excellence, which is designed to help improve and expand family and community engagement in the education process. When you think about what do people think when they walk into your building? Is it a fortress school? Is it a welcoming environment? All of those kinds of things are important for families to be aware of.
Thank you so much for that. So I would just like to let you know how this correlates to the school improvement plan, because that's what we were looking at when we were looking at PTA, is we're looking at the school improvement plan in terms of the board goals. So one of the board goals that we have is to increase student performance and achievement in terms of higher test scores and state mandated tests. And when we looked at PTA's vision, it has a national membership that provides school with a voice for shaping the political positions that are adopted by the state and national levels. So that's one of the things that we looked at. In addition, in terms of our vision, provide inclusive programs to service that are driven by students, staff, community members to enhance development. Well, the mission of the PTA says members and leaders have access to free online training. So it's free online training. They have magazines, organizational news, and access to state and regional national conferences to support participating locally and nationwide. Another one of our visions here at Lindop is to adhere to a balanced budget and maintain a healthy fund balance. The National PTA offers chapters financial support. Funding is available to support local efforts for students, families, communities to participate in educational activities that are engaging, inspiring, and fun. So that's just like the grants that Dr. Robertson is talking about. And then to foster success. So the PTA is able to foster success with their partnership with the parents as well as the teachers in order to do that. And so those are some of the things that I wanted to share in terms of why we were looking at this. We were looking at it from the goals of the board that the board has for the whole school district, and how the school improvement plan, what we need in the school improvement plan, and how PTA can help us in the school improvement plan. So that's how we came about this. So I just wanted to share that for you so that you know that it's tied in. Thank you, Ms. Blake, for asking the question about the students. So that's why it's all about the school improvement plan. It's a directive from the board. They have their goals, and how can we, as community members, as parents, as teachers, how can we foster that? And so that's why we were looking at PTA, because it's an organization that's able to foster our school improvement plan. So I just wanted to share that with you so that you were aware. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Would
One moment, there's a parent talking. One moment.
The Apple program for the state of Illinois as teachers, as we move towards becoming the blue ribbon school
Yes.
that we really want to become, we have to look at all facets of what different organizations can help our children. So that's one for the teachers. Also, there's the Kate Merrimack scholarship funds that teachers can be involved through the PTA. So we're just looking at things that will benefit us. So we have to have open minds as to what would benefit our children as we move into this, time where everything is just upside down. But we want the best for our community, for our teachers, as well as our students, because that's why we're all here.
Thank you for that.
Would anyone be interested in hearing about the different grants and programming? I'd be happy to share. It also tells you some of the partnerships National PTA has in order to try and help provide programming that are beneficial for students and families as well. Should I share that, Jeanette?
I would like to speak. I have a question as a parent and as
Sure.
the PTSO president. And I have a couple of questions that are coming in and streaming from different parents. How are the students involved with PTSO? Students currently aren't participating in school events because they aren't communicated well. Right now, we have a 4 to 7 person membership for PTSO. And that's been way before I got here, you know. So if we don't meet our 25 member requirement, how does that change our membership? You know, of course, we'll set goals later, but how would that assist us with getting signed up initially? Are there any startup costs? In redoing our 501c, of course, that's already been invested in. So, you know, we'll have to, of course, have time to get money together if this will be what we do in the future. Those are a couple of things that are come through. So let's start with if we don't have enough members, let's start there. And if we don't have enough members, can we count on the administrative staff, our teachers, and everyone else to make sure that they contribute until we have enough members? Where are we going to get the money from to have enough members and to keep our costs low? Because currently we're at 0. So any cost over 0 is a cost that's going to be, we're going to need to find out about.
Well, if you find 5 parents and 5 teachers willing to join you for let's say a dues rate of $6, Lindop keeps 1, $275 goes to the state, $225 goes to national. You've met your minimum requirement for chartering. You've got 10 members. You've got opportunity to encourage other parents to join your great organization.
We do have that opportunity, but according to our metrics, we are a reduced and free lunch community. $5 or $6 may change something for someone. We don't know. We can't count, you know, what's not there or what is there for someone else. But those things do matter in this community because of where we stand and what other schools in West Cook do you have your PTA standards set, and besides North and South Shore, because we're not in comparison.
We've got quite a variety in Schaumburg, Rolling Meadows, Palatine, Arlington
Not
Heights.
close. Yeah, we need something with, what schools do you have with reduced lunch programs? Oh, 100% reduced lunch programs that hold a PTA currently, and how are you assisting them in feeding their children and bringing those parents in for training?
Several of these schools have over 40–50% low income. We've got a couple of schools that have their subsidized breakfast and lunch. You know, we've got the gamut. Of course, we've got communities that are far wealthier, let's just say it. And then we've got the low income areas, and I'll tell you, they have just as much fun at their fall parties, at their dances. They do different events.
We do too.
But most certainly, but that doesn't mean that the kids have less fun.
We didn't say they didn't. We didn't say that this had anything to do with fun. We're just asking what support you're going to give us, or, you know, what we'll have, because if we're 100% reduced lunch and we can't get parents to come out for free, if you're on a Zoom, and you do your Zooms every month, right? So you're not here today. We're here as PTSO members, parents, and teachers. So how can we expect you, and you don't have a regional director who's running things, you know, there are just some other factors that we have questions about. That 40% reduced lunch is totally different from 100%. We can't compare ourselves to Schaumburg. We're not even close.
That is true. We can't compare ourselves to Schaumburg, but we still want our children to have the best. So just because we are 100% free and reduced doesn't mean that we cannot elevate ourselves and be part of the PTA.
And I'm not saying we can't,
but
I'm not saying anyone that we can't get there, but we need the support. We need the parents. We need people to come out and help us achieve these goals, because currently we don't have that from, whether it be the school or a lot of the parents just don't come.
That's true.
They don't participate. We need help, but we're established right now. We're paid and ready to go right now. We need you all for PTSO today. We can do PTA whenever. That doesn't have to start this school year. It can start in 2 years, but let's right now build what we have for free. Use that $6 to apply to something we're doing that's positive for the kids already. Why pay it to them? And now we're $6 short. You know, it's like, why not move and promote what we currently have? How does this assist us even more? Again, in our Black and Brown community, we need help. And it starts with this initial $6.
Thank you so much for that. I know we are ending at, oh, sorry. Go. Go ahead. I
Good
apologize.
evening, parents, staff, community. My name is Tanya Taylor. I am the vice president for the school board here at Lindop. I don't want us to get caught up on fees. The district is going to take care of the fees. Don't worry about the $6. We're not worried about that. This is about our students. This is about legislation. This is about a guidance to get our kids from point A to B. What we're trying to do is all focused around our youth. One voice, our children. That's our only commitment here tonight. The reasoning for the transition is many. The board directors, the board has established goals for this district, this school district, and all our goals are surrounding your children, my child, okay? Let's not get caught up on fees. Let's not get caught up on anything else. I do understand that PTSO is an established organization. Yes, we commend you. We thank you. We always thank you for your efforts. That would not change. It's just going to be a transition, possibly. We have not come to that decision yet. I just want to speak and just correct someone because someone said that the board has nothing to do with this. That's not true. What I said was that the board does not vote on anything that's PTSO related. That's number one, because PTSO is a parent, student, community organization. It has nothing to do with Lindop School Board. So let's correct that. But Lindop School Board will be accountable. We will be background. If anything is needed from our district, our doors are always open. And the only thing that we are here is to support our youth. So please, we're all on the same page. That's all we want, is to support the children of this community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have some questions on this side here that I haven't been able to get to.
Hello,
Hi.
my name's Dagoberto Medel, and I'm parent of 2 kids here at Lindop. You know, you guys keep talking about how this is going to contribute, how this is going to benefit, and you guys are 3 people on the screen. Still can't direct any local direct information that we actually need to even move forward with this. So what is the point of today?
So the point of today was to give parents, community members, teachers, and students knowledge about PTA. And if this is something that the community would like to do in terms of moving from PTSO based on what PTA has to offer our students based on the board goals that we have. So I don't know if we're ready to vote because
when there's no voting on PTA today. Ms. O, we have some questions in the chat, I believe, online.
one question.
One question.
You want to read it? There's one question.
When schools have not joined, what has been the barriers? That's a great question. A lot of times, I'm going to throw the principal under the bus. A lot of times it has to do with money. Because we're separate organizations, sometimes, you know, the lines get a little bit blurred, and the principal or, you know, other administration feels like, you know, that money that's left over from the PTA accounts could be used for the kids, you know, because it's all about the kids. It is all about the kids, but it's a membership association. And so the membership gets to decide if we are supplementing school buses for a field trip, or if we are buying pencil sharpeners for the school. It's the membership that decides. And sometimes it just comes down to money. And other organizations, there's more free reign with different people to kind of say, hey, we could use some of that for, it's, you know, it's always for the kids, but other organizations have a little more free reign, I guess I would describe. Barb, do you have any other barriers that you've seen?
Well, I have a long, rich history of serving in a variety of capacities with PTA. And some of the things that we see, and somebody mentioned time. Time is always a barrier, but we all have the same 24 hours in a day. Language can be a barrier, cultural norms and differences can be barriers. And so I would encourage everybody who's participating in this conversation to go to the National PTA website and look at the Schools of Excellence program. Because some of the things that the administrators have talked about today with regard to the school improvement plan and the balanced budget and the school board's vision are all encapsulated in some of those questions that are asked of families and communities during the Schools of Excellence process. And so I think that if you want to look at ways that we can be of assistance or identify some of the barriers, the Schools of Excellence program is one way to do that.
You have another question?
Good afternoon. My name is Idra Mallard, and I wanted to know, does the PTA advocate for children with special needs and also children with mental health needs?
Oh,
What type of
absolutely.
funding?
Actually, tomorrow night, the Illinois PTA is hosting a Zoom event on school bullying and the recent enactment of PA 1030047, which is the incident reporting requirement for bullying incidents that have been reported to the school. So we advocate, we were very, in the last 2 weeks, we've been very involved in advocating to allow the Invest in Kids program to sunset as it was originally intended to do. We have positions, if you go to the Illinois PTA website and look up our legislative advocacy platform, there is a lot of information in there about the things that we support and how we support them and why we support them and how we teach parents that legislators are just people like the rest of us and how to make those essential conversations happen.
Can I say as well in regards to special education, there is a parent resource that is a special education toolkit for parents, as well as one of the things I was just on the National PTA website because I was pulling together a convention proposal workshop form today. And I was looking at that National PTA has been awarded 2 different awards in regards to their mental health resources available. There are so many resources available on mental health right now under the healthy lifestyles section. Lots of resources for parents as well as resources for staff and teachers. We understand this is a collaboration. It's a collaboration of working together. It's the families who are with their children at home, and it's the staff that's working with the children at school. And it's building that those sharing those resources and those tools, as you said too about testing and about achievement. There's also a whole host of things on there, parent resources in regards to student learning standards and assessments and all of those things. Great resources that are available on the National PTA website. So, we came here tonight to just provide you with information. We are volunteers, just as your PTSO leaders are volunteers, but we do this because we love children and we want the best for children. We understand that each local community has the understanding of what their community needs. And the PTA is just there to provide support for those leaders and families and staff and provide them with support and resources. So we just wanted to share that this evening.
We want to thank you so much. We want to be recognize the time. We do have our local union president and two co-presidents. Both presidents are here today and they would like to make a.
Hi, I'm Diane Schoenheider. I've been here quite a while. And first I want to thank the PTSO for everything that you do. You have always been there to support, and the teachers see and hear that. One of the things that has really resonated, and Ms. Brown said it really well, that we really want to bring the students forward. And if there's something that PTA can do to help all of us, that would be great, because students who have families that work with the school and with the teachers, when we work together, the kids benefit the most. So I want to do what is going to do great things for the kids of Lindop, because I have seen them from pre-K, graduate 8th grade, and they have so much potential. And I just want to be able to offer them everything we possibly can.
I totally agree with Ms. Schoenheider. We just want to keep the children at the forefront of everything. These are our babies too. So we want to invest everything we can into them.
I want to take this opportunity to thank every single person who spoke today. If you had a question on your heart and you wanted to ask it at a later time, please feel free to email me, and I'll be delighted to hopefully can pass that information on to PTA to get the information back. There was a wealth of information that was shared tonight. There's one more slide that the ladies would like to share, and then we can wrap up our meeting. Would you like to share that next slide, please?
I can.
Thank you.
When or if you're ready to organize a PTA, we need a few pieces of information to get started. So you need your name, Lindop PTA, Lindop School PTA, whatever makes sense to you. We would be making a motion to organize you. We follow Robert's rules. We would need a motion to set your membership dues. So it could start at $5, whatever makes sense for your community. We would be completing your bylaws. So we need to know an officer structure. The IRS requires a president, secretary, treasurer. A lot of our PTAs include a number of vice presidents. It could be one, it could be none, it could be, I've seen 5. Some of our PTAs use a president-elect and a president structure. So you would elect a president-elect. They would kind of be an understudy for a term, and then they would just automatically step into that president role at the next election. We've had co-presidents. It's not my favorite setup. We have executive vice president. So there's a number of ways you can go with whatever you're comfortable with, but setting up that officer structure so that we can complete your bylaws. We would adopt bylaws. We would nominate officers. And again, those come from people who officially become members. We would hold an election. And so then that would be members that could vote. And then you would be rocking and rolling. We have training to get you started. We have obviously resources to call, email with questions. We can make another visit out there if we needed to come out in person to help you out with something in particular. So that would be the next step if you choose a PTA.
All right, and I also want to encourage you to please go on their website. There's a wealth of information on their website that can be beneficial for everyone to look at. All right, we want to thank everyone for coming this evening. We appreciate the turnout, all of your support for our Lindop students. We love that. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you. Thank you. Thank you, ladies, so much. I don't know if you can hear me. Thank you so much for today. I appreciate you all. I will be reaching out to you with our next steps, but this was a great meeting today. I think a wealth of information that went out. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I wish we could have been there in person.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
PTSO meeting tomorrow at 5:30 in the library.
Well, thank you for inviting us.